half jab. On my lyrics hit hard. Half style, half jab. On my lyrics hit hard.
It seems like the trail of tears never ends. The harder the light, the darker the skin. When did this begin? The greed of evil men who happen to have white pale skin. Write down the laws, create the constitutions. We the people, just a pimped out illusion. A trickery of words that deceive the lost herds. But ancient are my people, let us send my word. Cause the gods of time, they write my rhymes. They keep my heart divine so I can see between the lines. The stars are the sign that travel space and time. You can never own my spirit, you will never own my mind.
He stands on my place in the stars. Half style, half jab. On my lyrics hit hard. Half style, half jab. On my lyrics hit hard. Lyrics hit hard. Lyrics hit hard. Half style, half jab. On my lyrics hit hard.
You see the spirits in the wind have a deal with men to never hurt the earth and to always defend the elders, the children. Sacred is the flower that we call our women. The power of creation, the seventh generation, the carriers of light. They suffered so much through a 500-year night. Raping Spaniards, pedophile priests, manifest destiny, mark of the beast. We seem to have forgotten the Spanish Inquisition when they murdered fucking millions in the name of their religion. Another modern day rendition, but a vaccine inquisition. Remember billionaire elites and corrupt politicians. These are the seeds of white supremacy, white superiority over colored majorities. Doctrine of discovery, 1493.
Ghost of the ancient set in the sage set. Ghost of the ancient set in the sage set. Ghost of the ancient set in the sage set. Ghost of the ancient set in the sage set. Into the Vatican, strangle the Pope with a rosary. Into the Vatican, strangle the Pope with a rosary. Into the Vatican, strangle the Pope with a rosary.
Yo. Armando. LA Natives.
LA
Wednesdays.
Natives. Wednesdays discussions.
The think tank.
That's a dope video, by the way.
The Warrior Talk. Oh, thank you.
Yo, every time, look, it's funny. Every time I watch that video, the first person that comes across my head is I Suppose.
Of course, because he shot it. Because, I mean, this brother is a really dope, talented, not only music artist, but this dude does dope clothing and does amazing videos. That video was done pretty quickly, very effectively, and I thank him so much for allowing me to share my art with the community out there and producing a dope video called Doctrine of Discovery. So if you haven't seen that video yet, you can hit it up, or you can go to YouTube and check it out. Sorry, I got a little bit of stuff stuck in my throat.
Shout out to Brando Tattoos. We see you in the chat.
Brandon,
joining
what's
us,
up, brother? How you doing, brother?
Sorry about being late. We're 30 minutes behind, but we definitely have a good show in front of us. And this is our Wednesdays discussions. LA Natives podcast hosted by Zero of El Vuh.
There's a little bit of sage for everybody.
And any questions you guys have, if there's any type of episodes you guys watched and you want some more dialogue on it, feel free to chat away and join the discussion.
Blessing it up right here.
Khalif Aslan.
Khalif Aslan's on.
Shout out.
Shout out to Khalif Aslan.
And yes, I'm definitely going to be putting in an appointment with the homie Brandon Tattoos. I'm going to be visiting him very soon. Appreciate the support, bro. Like, low key, we're being honest, right? Zero, he was our first order.
Absolutely.
And we hooked him up. You know, we gave him some CDs. And I'm sure you love the music, bro. Like, I'm sure you saw that package and you were, like, blown away. So I really appreciate the support, brother.
Absolutely. And for sharing my music with your tattoo art is another thing that he's been doing too. So you know, the community of LA natives is growing. It's becoming more solid and solidified. And you know, Jenny couldn't make it today. She had work, so I just want to explain that. But we miss her, and yeah. But we're gonna continue on with the LA natives mission, which is to kind of inform people what we can, how we can, and in a humble way. And we can't do that without brothers like Brandon, who listen loyally, because he doesn't only listen on Wednesdays, he listens on Sundays.
Right, and he's probably one of the few fans that kind of caught every episode. You know?
Yeah,
and that, to be honest, Zero, it's like we're all doing it together. It's not just us here at the studio. Every single one of these viewers, especially for these Wednesday audiences, they're just part of the growth with us. You know?
That you know, we're creating the community. I mean community, because in a community, in time of need, we come together. In a community, when it's time to share something, we come together. In a community, when it's time to eat, we all bring something and we come together. So that's the point of LA Natives, you know, and coming together with our version and what we bring to this potluck is our spirit, our humility, and our advisory warning that what we say isn't law, or we all make mistakes and we all do this. But if we come together as a community and have no judgment and kind of understands people's roads, then we'll be a stronger community. And that stronger community can hold the weight of the next 7 generations, which is our children's children's children.
Yes. And let's get right into it. I think now I know what Galif Aslan means about, hey, Zero, what is Jaguar Prophecies? I'm sure he knows about, you know, the album and stuff, but I think he's just trying to, you know,
Where do we get the name, and
the whole background?
And is there a book called the Jaguar Prophecies? Yes, there is. That book was called the Shilam Belam. And so when El Vuh was forming and we were trying to figure out a name, it was said that sacred book, the Shilam Belam, the Jaguar Prophecies, would kind of show us how the future would be and what we need to correct to get back to where we used to be. So it's a book written by the Maya, called, I think it's called the Shilam Belam, or anyways, look up the Mayan Jaguar Prophecy book, and it just escaped my name exactly, but there is a book called the Jaguar Prophecies. And so when El Vuh decided to take that name on and say, hey, we're gonna call our album the Jaguar Prophecies, is because we knew that we were gonna come to the fire with a humble intention and connect with things that maybe weren't taught to us, that things that were going to be new to us. I mean, completely new, like so new, 500 years new, right? Because you're going to ceremonies that you've never, ever experienced in generation. And then now it's your turn to go into that ceremony and go, okay, I'm going to trust myself to go into this powerful place and know that I'm not born again, but I'm going to come out with a new heart and a new intention and a new strength and a new connection with my own self. So the Jaguar Prophecies in that book kind of shows you the bad stuff and shows you why the other stuff is there, the good stuff. So it's a complete understanding. But yeah, that's what it was.
That's amazing. You know, let me tell you my stories about when I first came across that album. Like I was like, what, 18, 19. I bought it at the Stonewood Mall, at that little Mexica shop right there that was there, just chilling.
Yeah.
And it was the name that kind of got me to buy the CD, if you know what I mean, right? Because it was something so different. The album cover, the artwork, the name. I was just like, what is this? I need to get this. You know what I'm saying? So just to let you know, it was so profound for someone like myself who was into underground hip hop and into hip hop that had substance. because it was the black and red ink that my homie Willie exposed me to, right? So I knew of you guys, and then when I stumbled upon the Jaguar Prophecies, I was like, "Fuck, dude, it's right there. It's $20. Like, I need to buy it."
Wow.
And it was just the name. It was the artwork and the name. So such an amazing story on how you actually labeled that album. But give us some background on that artwork. Like, those three dudes are, I'm assuming you, Vic, and E-Rice, right?
Right. There was an artist named Alfonso Malagon who did the Evolution cover too. And this brother is a very special brother because, he has certain disabilities that he was born with. I thought his art was so profound, and I asked him to do a favor for me, that we were going to put this album out called Jaguar Prophecies, but I needed Mayan glyphs that were going to represent us, right? Or the elements of hip hop, because we were choosing that medium to share this sacred knowledge with our community. And man, when Alfonso came back with the drawings, I was like, oh, this is kind of like, it was like its own lane, like completely. Like when we looked around and we said, who else is doing this? I mean, we had Austin Underground, but Austin Underground had already transitioned to a band, and they were doing a whole like Rage Against the Machine type of thing. But in the hip hop realm, I mean, there was Olmeca. I don't know. We just kind of had our own lane.
Was it like a canvas or something? Because I noticed the album cover wasn't straight. It was just like perfectly imperfect.
Well, we wanted to mimic a Mayan codice. And if you look at those codices, they're not really straight. And, they're kind of written, like you said, perfectly, but imperfectly, right? Because the knowledge.
It's like those imperfections make a great project.
I knew it was going to be unique. It was going to be so unique that,
and it was funny because one dude has turntables, and
right.
another dude has a microphone, and I'm just like, fuck.
And the other guy's writing.
Yeah, writing, right. And I'm like, yo, that's so hip hop right there.
We were trying to do our impression or our version of a group, right? Like kind of like the Wu-Tang or something like that. Wu-Tang used ancient Chinese martial arts, and we said, well, let's choose our culture. And at first it was more like, oh yeah, look, we're going to use our culture as a backdrop. But then our culture sucked us in even more, right? It was like, nah, you're not going to just use this like a t-shirt. You're going to go into the fire. You're going to go into the ceremonies. You're going to go to people who have never, ever considered themselves native and wake up their genetic memory with this intention. That's Jaguar Prophecy.
Wow. Well, there you go. Hopefully that answered your question, guys. Appreciate everyone in the chat. We definitely have our diehards that are chilling with us this Wednesdays. And, this is a no holds bar type of, segment where we just decided to add a second show, and we're planning as we go. Obviously, our Sunday show is there. It's somewhat popular and getting bigger and bigger. I did inquire, though, to get some press. I hit up a lot of these indigenous native magazines that are out there. And I just basically sent them our one pager, and hopefully we get picked up.
I'm sure they will. It'll take time, but whether it does or doesn't, we're going to continue doing our mission, which is having conversations with our diehards out there.
And I always ask our audience, like, let us know if there's another podcast out there that's kind of similar to ours. You know what I'm saying? Because if there is, we want to promote them. But from what I know, there's nothing else out there like it.
It's not going to give you the perspective from an indigenous, of an indigenous person. It's going to give you the perspective of a corporate agenda or selling you a certain shoe or clothes whether we get caught up in sponsorships, we'll find out as business moves forward. But as of now, it's just sharing our heart with you. That's all that matters, man. That's all that matters to me, is to share my heart with my community, because you're not gonna hear a show where I don't say this, that we are genocide survivors, Holocaust survivors, who have not even been recognized. Not once has the US government said, hey, sorry, natives, that we genocided you. because it went it went across Turtle Island, and our elders knew about this great prophecy. They knew that our time would end. So we had to walk with humility into the darkness to know that one day, our great grandchildren would remember. Will remember those stories. Will remember how to be at one with yourself, the earth, and your intention.
Wow, that's amazing. We got 6 people tuning in live. Really appreciate that.
I love it. I love that it's so intimate because, you know, each one of you can ask a question. Each one of you can have a comment. And from what I think, we can send them a link and someone can join us on our side by side. So
Yes, anyone watching this, feel free to send us your email. Put the email in the chat. I'll send you an invite link. All you need is a laptop and some earphones, and we could chime in. Let's have a conversation. There's a reason why everyone's here is because they follow our Sunday show. And being our 11th show in, and this coming Sunday is our 12th, there's a lot of stuff I believe we've been putting out, a lot of gems, and I've been overhearing a lot of the podcasts in the archives, and man, there's a lot of great lines that I'm gonna be sampling and creating into little commercials and stuff. And you know, Zero always tells me like he barely even listens to them, but that's not his role. His role is to you know, do LA natives, right, Zero? Like,
absolutely. Sorry. I have, like, my kids are at home, man. I'm gonna be real. My kids are at home, so I have to keep an eye on them. But yeah, I'm hearing everything everybody's saying, and I just got to check in with my little one, but he's fine. Everything's cool. And I don't like to listen to the podcasts. I do little pieces by pieces because I'm still learning how to be an individual that shares his opinion. I'm not a podcaster. I'm a person. I'm an artist. I'm a recording artist. A person that's connected to his own self and his family and his roots. So there's no need to get caught up in my own whatevers. You know, if you guys enjoy it and it helps you, then I appreciate you listening to whatever my art has to say or my heart has to say. You know, I'm humbled by 6 people, diehards, brothers that I recognize by their handle. That's deep. For me, that's enough, man. I don't need thousands of people. You know, later on, and they'll catch on. You know what I mean? Later on, it'll be like a popular thing or whatever. But if it isn't right now, I take what it is, and I'm humbled and grateful that someone would even hear my opinion, because I know nothing, man. I'm not a scholar. I didn't go to college. This is all coming from spiritual trust in my own self. A deep connection that you have to cultivate yourself. That's why our elders said that the great grandchildren would remember, because it was their nonsense. It never went away. We just kind of tuck it away and hide it. And when it comes out, when our brilliance, when our humanity, when our love and our art starts to shine, somehow, some way, someone's criticism of it makes you hide it. Someone's dislike of it doesn't make you want to push forward. Man, can I tell a story real quickly about El Vuh's first show, right?
wow, I want to listen to this. Go ahead.
Okay, so El Vuh gets this show, and they're like, yeah, man, we want you to play for Mecha, this organization in college. And so we go, Eric, Victor, and me, and my little son. He used to always jump on stage with us, Olin. And no one's there. We know the sound guy, so we say, what's up, Menno? What's up? Are we late? Are we early? No, this is it, bro. And I'm like, there's nobody here. And he's like, I know. And I'm like, are you sure it's today? It's today, bro. And he's on point. You know, he's a sound guy, so he has to be on point. And so nobody's there. I turn to the guys and I go, well, let's just play our ass off like there is somebody there, right? And so we play our song and we get to the last song, which is heavy. And we're all fired up and my little son's jumping around and we're all like acting like if this room is filled with people. And 3 Mecha students go, is this the place where the music's at? And we're like, yeah, but we're on our last song. And they're like, well, we'll just stay and see it. And those 3 kids went away with such a look in their eyes when they heard that song, such a pride that we got booked like a month, like every month for like 6 months with this organization. Because we played our ass off for 40 minutes and the last 5 minutes, we didn't quit. We still stayed on focus. Like if the room was packed, and these 3 kids walk in and go, wow, what the fuck was that? Who are you guys? I never heard of you guys. I want to. And then boom, El Vuh's like born and we're booking shows. And
Well, who was in the room before they walked in?
just the sound guy that we knew. It's just the sound guy. Like if you're sitting right there in front of the mixer.
Staff? There was no staff there? or
There was
anything?
nobody. It was no tables.
wow.
It was just like a room that they had, I guess, gonna have a DJ play later.
Who
And
was the promoter?
it was a group called Mecha. It was they sometimes do these fundraisers, and if no one is organized about telling people that this is happening on campus, no one's gonna go. So it was kind of that kind of a deal. So when I talked to the sound guy and I'm all, is this it? He's all, yep. He's all, there's nobody here. He's all, I know. I'm like, so should we play? He's all, well, it says 6 o'clock. You should play. I'm all, okay. Well, and then I just looked to Victor and I was like, let's just treat it like if it's a dope show. And what could we do? The sound's there. It had microphones. We had a good system and we just let loose. And I think these kids stumbled upon us, and then our collegiate, tour started happening after that. Like it didn't stop for like a year. But my point of saying that is just, you just got to continue to evolve without putting a success monitored or rewarded by money.
Well, and if it's your first ever show, why would you even want to perform in front of a decent crowd?
I mean,
Wouldn't that be nerve-wracking?
I would see, this is the thing about artists. Either you love the adrenaline rush of playing, like, yeah, I wanted it to be packed. I wanted my first show to be like, I wanted it to be so pressure. It's because like you hit this level of, I don't know, it's like these moments that these doors that you open and that you're able to be honest because these individuals are there to see this show. So you could be as honest as possible. That's why punk rock bands and, really Prince is one of those guys that's very androgynous and in your face. And, you do it so that you can say your message to whoever's there to see it. And that's a very special place in my life, because I was able to do it at the Zócalo in Mexico City. I was able to do it on big stages independently. They're very quick moments, but they're spiritually connected, I guess.
So when was the first show that you guys actually realized, hey, there's actually a crowd here, like, 20, 30, 40 heads came through and like, yo, we're selling merch, we're buying CDs. Like when was that day?
When I felt the most confident about El Vuh is when we opened up for KRS-One. And there was people actually there. Like I want to say 25% of that crowd was there to see El Vuh. And that was like, whoa. Because it's Chris. When you're going up against a monster like KRS-One, I mean, you feel like, damn, this is the teacher, and you gotta go up against that. But the cool thing is that when you listen to El Vuh and you listen to KRS-One, it's almost at the same knowledge level. So 25% of that crowd was ours, and they were like going crazy while we were on stage. So we had presence. KRS-One had no other choice but to co-sign and say, that group that came before me, that's real hip hop. And we have that on tape. So I guess maybe that would be the day that I felt like, okay, El Vuh's something. El Vuh's going to be here for a while, and it still is because people still listen to that song, those music, those CDs.
Man, and I think I was part of that journey too. You know, it's crazy how that coincides with fans coming out to your shows, and then you having those experiences. But then you have to put yourself in our shoes, like the experiences we had to like love the music so much to troll you guys. Because I remember one time we went to UCLA. You guys were performing at UCLA, and something happened, or I don't know if it was UCLA or another venue, but something happened where you guys couldn't perform, or you guys showed up late or something, and then we showed up.
Oh, they made us go on early. That's what it was.
Okay, and then we were just standing there, and you guys were just off in the distance, and we were just like, "Fuck, are they ever gonna perform?" So we went up to you guys. We're like, "Hey, look, guys, like, you know, we drove from who knows where to come see you guys. Are you guys gonna rock?" And your guys' faces just went like ghost on us, because because maybe you guys felt so bad.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember that time it was like, we were like humble. We didn't want any like friction. And like I said, when you play with performers, people want to get the biggest crowd at the time. And I actually started right after that. We had a conversation as a group. And I remember those comments. And I said, dude, we can't be like giving up our slots like that, because people come and see us and we don't know if, you know, that they're coming to see us. Like we only go to perform. We don't have communication with our fans and what time we're playing and shit. So there was a lot of times, that wasn't the only time, and you're not the only fan that's ever said that to us. So it's just, you got to remember, community, when you have a special artist and he's going to perform for you, you better show up, because you're going to miss it. And then that artist he's not conscious of that. He's just going to get a slot, play, do his thing. So be aware. If you're going to spend time or money to go see someone, be there on time, be there enthusiastic, because that person might never play a show again.
Right.
Like El Vuh. El Vuh will never play a show again.
Yeah. You know, that's not like DMXing it, right? Like DMX shows up 1 minute before he's supposed to get on. Like he could have tripped and fell, and then the show's tanked. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. Like corporate music, like DMX, it's a corporate. Those are pop songs, as underground as they try to make it.
It's a whole different lifestyle for those guys, right?
Absolutely, because they're just like so rich and they don't care about their crowd. And not that, you know, it's when you reach the pinnacles of success, either you're drowned in your own ego or you're really grounded and you're doing some good things, you know?
All right. Well, look, this is going to be a very special segment, because we do have Kali Faslan on the chat room,
nice.
chilling, and we're going to go ahead and bring
Do
him in.
this.
What's up?
How you doing, my brother? Kali Faslan.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can hear me?
Man, you sound excellent. Hey, man, this means so much, right, Zero? Because it's like, thank you for supporting LA natives.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me real quick, why Kali Faslan? Why? What's the name? Tell me a little bit. I know what it means, but I want the community to kind of get a good, solid understanding of what that name means.
For me personally, it's trying to find my home. So I'm from California, so that's where the Cali has come from. And Axlan is just trying to find my identity, trying to find where I come from, my history, my background. So that's why I chose Kalik Faxlan.
Anything is one of a million paths.
Cool. Sorry about
Yeah, so I wanted to share my poem, if that's okay with all y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Look, this platform is for you guys, and no matter how skilled or how whatever level you're at, just know that art is a process, and so it takes a lot of courage. And I really, 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 really am proud of someone, you know, from the chat room to want to share their art with us, because art is the Toltec way. We are all artists, so go for it, share it.
All right, thank you. Yo soy, I am. By Kalik Falan. Yo soy, I am. Who am I? I am X. My name. Named after my grandfather. Named after a friend. Named after my father. Named after my mother. But that's just the mask I live up to. I am the result of colonization, abuse, toxic masculinity, identity loss, drug abuse. I am Mexican, but I don't feel Mexican. I am not American, but I feel American. Maybe I'm Chicano. I don't know. Who am I? I am the lost Chicano, lost in both worlds, like Selena Quintanilla. But I ain't no Quintanilla. I am a Garcia, forever a Garcia, forever branded by a Spanish colonizer who took my culture, my language, my hair, my land, my water, my family, my life, my history, my well being. But I am the one that made it through 7 generations of colonizations, kind of. I am lost. Who am I? Honestly, I don't know. I'm still trying to find out myself because I don't know who anyone is.
Yo,
Wow.
that's a pretty deep poem, and I'll tell you why it's deep, because you're not the only one that felt that. I mean, everyone growing up, when you're taken from your parents and you're taken from your history and you're taken from your land rights and your water rights and all these other things that combined, you know, people think, oh, it was adults that just submitted to this evil person. And it wasn't, it was children. That's why you don't know anything. That's why you feel like you don't know anything, because you were a baby and you were an infant and you were never told your story. What story? It's not going to be found in the book. The story is the one you just wrote down, brother, in that poem. That's your story.
Thank you.
And it's your job to find your own home. And that home, whether it be in Aslan, wherever it is, it's your perception of reality. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Absolutely. Hey, can I share something too? Because he shared a poem. I want to share a poem that kind of has the same kind of feeling to it, right? So it goes, I dream in real time, effortless motions of heart and mind. My spirit sublime, even through all their crime. I'm rooted to time. No longer have to search for what I can't find. This love has always been there, like the transparent air. The wind can't be seen, but it doesn't mean it's not there. It surrounds everything, every plant, every animal, every human being. I could see beyond the smoke of which my ancestors spoke. This world is a joke. It just ain't funny anymore. They're trying to send us off to a never-ending war without rhyme or reason. But you can't have my children. They were given to me by the sacred tree, implanted in me. I'll teach them to see beyond the lies and the greed. I didn't water your seed. I planted my own. I showed them their home made of ancient stone so they don't have to roam like a dog with no home.
Wow.
So we're both wandering dogs trying to find that home. And we'll understand that our home is the sky, the earth, and everything in front of you, in back of you, to the sides of you, and in underneath you. That's your home. And no Spaniard, colonizer, or religious doctrine can take that from you.
Well
Awesome.
said. How do you feel about that, Caliph Aslan?
One thing, like, I appreciate you for being you, just because you're kind of like an elder, and I listen to your music here and there, and I think that's where I've been finding my culture, just through music. It's kind of hard to learn now because I don't know that much Spanish, but I've been learning a lot through your music and learning a few words here and there, and I think that's just kind of one way to keep our culture alive.
Absolutely. You being alive, you having a heartbeat, having a breath, and having talent to write a poem, you're keeping us alive. That's how it happens.
Awesome.
Now, can I ask you a question, Caliph Aslan?
Yeah.
How long have you been writing?
I just here and there. I don't consider myself a writer. I just get an idea and I just start writing and go with it.
Yeah, it starts off that way. It starts off with these little, spurts of poetry, and then you get a little confidence, and some people, give you compliments about what you've written, and it makes you feel good, and you continue to go with it. I mean, that's the way it happened for me. And now that I apply it in my podcast and anything else I do artistically, I mean, it's just a gift. It's a gift that sometimes we have a habit of judging ourselves because we're not like, oh, I didn't write 50 poems in one day, or 50 poems in 1 month. It's like, take your time. You're doing what you need to do to fulfill your heart, but never give up, brother. And thank you for sharing your poem.
Thank you.
Now, can I ask you, how many podcast episodes have you checked out so far from our podcast?
Live?
Yeah, well, live or in archive. And has there been one or two that kind of like stood out to you, or you learned a lot from?
I think the one with Richie.
Oh, Richie's.
I'm really into clothing.
Oh, nice.
So like him making that clothing line, and I don't know, that's how I see it. That's how I like it, and especially his Instagram. You kind of know a little bit stuff you don't talk about. There was
Right.
one post that about the color orange, the Orange Day. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was talking about how like the color orange represents. I think it was that the youth they were going to the schools, and that was like the last color that that youth was wearing before they started to colonize them, pretty much. So I thought that like he was pretty much putting symbols and stories behind his artwork, and that's kind of like something I've learned.
Well, you were right, Zero. You called it right off the top. Like Richie's brand and his clothing is really profound, man. It really hits people.
And it's so simple. Like, it's not like he's doing crazy designs. It's like it's amazing how art works in that way. Like, it's transcending through, well, obviously his page, because his page, he gets to say what he gets to say, which is very controversial, and some people would say conspiracy theorist, right? But you got to understand, when you use the word conspiracy theorist, you're actually telling someone to go, well, facts don't matter, right? So sometimes you'll run into that kind of a thing, but people should do it. People should research and know that symbolism to control masses of people has been in place since Roman time. So that's a long time. So let's just keep that in mind.
Well, just like how Kali Faslan said, Richie, to me, is one of the most influential individuals in the indigenous game.
Yeah, he is.
Honestly,
literally. I mean, he's not even a rapper, bro. He's like got so many followers, and they're all organic, brute. Like, he doesn't.
His page is breathtaking, shocking content.
Yeah. No, he goes deep. He goes deep because there are very deep rituals that happen on elite levels, but
his bio says shadow banned.
Of course, we're in the age of censorship, if you guys don't notice. I mean, so it's like that's where we're at, because if we start going off the wall on our opinion about what's happening or restrictions on going outside, you're done.
You're done.
You can actually be arrested. And like, I remember seeing this, a few months ago in New Zealand, where they arrested a soccer mom because she got tired of having her kids inside her house. So she organized a march or a walk, and the actual police went there and said, I have an arrest warrant. I'm going to take all your phones. I'm going to take all your... Dude, this is 2020, 2021. Say what you're going to say.
So I have another question for you, Khalif Aslan.
Yeah.
When did you actually stumble upon Zero's music? Like, was it introduced to you through a friend? Was it through social media? Or, did you purchase a CD and with the feature on it? Can you go ahead and take us back to those days?
I honestly don't know how I found your music. I just came across of it, and I just started listening to, like, I have this weird thing, like, so none of like my parents or family, no one is really into the indigenous culture. So I've caught myself like just always attracted to it, and sometimes I felt like kind of an outcast. I'm like, oh, you're not Mexican because you don't listen to this type of music. But it's like what they talk about, that certain music, there's no meaning. It's like, oh, they're just talking about drugs and killing people. And then your music, it's like stuff that like I'm missing through my life, and it's like, oh, okay, this is who we are, this is who we come from. And I remember I was going, I don't know, I just find your music, like there's times where I'm like, okay, I'm about to do something, it just like uplifts myself, and that's how I like your music.
And wow, you know what, Zero? I'm just gonna be honest with you. That same exact approach that he took, bro, I was in the same shoes as him. Like my mom or my dad, no one in my family was into that, and it was a very attracting music.
Well, the spirit of your own lineage can't be trapped forever. That's what we kept telling the Spaniard and the whites that colonized or caused genocide on our people. We said, you're not going to defeat us. You would have to kill all of our women. All of our women you would have to kill. All of our women. Not one woman would have to survive. And that's not true. Our women are the carriers of the bloodline. We are the initiators of that life. And that life will always have a root in a code, a genetic code gets awakened in a person. And if you're a code breaker, like I trusted myself to be, I broke the code of indoctrination, colonization, just by luck. And now that awakening allowed me to write poetry, allowed me to live a life of artistry, allowed me to find foods that implement and help my life on a daily, so I can live full circle in the ways of my ancestors.
Wow, it's like a void that had to be filled, right? Kalifaslan?
Yeah. And then I did ask you all like a question back that same episode with Richie. So I met Milan Putli, so the spirit energy of death. But I met him without knowing who he was. So before that, I didn't know much about. I knew about Quetzalcoatl, but I didn't know about Milan. I ended up like overdosing on a drug, and I was in the hospital. And I remember I was in a white room, and I see this big like skeleton dude,
Whoa.
just walking through like the hall, and it looks at me, and then looks away, and then looks again, and it's like it was surprised. It was more like scared the fact that I was there, and it told me, well, it like sent me a message. I was like, "You're not supposed to be here,"
Whoa.
and I'm like, "Excuse me?" I'm like, "You're not supposed to be here."
Whoa.
And then that's when I like, wait a minute. And then he was like, "Oh yeah." And then I remember then he was like showing me. He was pretty much telling me that he was the smallest one of his species, of who he like is I guess his people. I remember seeing him. He was like 6'11". He was like, "Yeah, I'm the smallest one of my kind." I'm like, "Damn, so your people are huge." And then he went like this, and then like all of like the like deities, gods. I remember seeing Quetzalcoatl there, and it's like, "Oh yeah, this is all of us." And then he said, "You'll know when it's your time." And then how I described it was like there'd be like a museum, when there's like artworks on the wall. That's why I was like, "Oh, you'll know when it's your time, when it's here." So I ended up coming back, and that was about 4 years to be exact, on the 20th last month. So I've been actually like, so like you said, throughout life, because I at that time, that's when I realized like I had a near death experience, and that's kind of more when I've been into my indigenous past. Recently, I've kind of done a little ceremony here and there, and I ended up like I felt like I had a conversation with a great grandma
Mm,
that I never met,
mm,
and she told me that she's sorry for everything that that I've gone through.
mm,
She pretty much told me that I am I was forced to grow up fast uh, in the life I grew, and then that to remember to being like a kid, like,
mm.
and I think that was kind of like I felt sometimes I catch myself just chasing that mousetrap, that we do. It's just, and then I think one thing I'd like to spend like an hour or two just taking care of myself and learning about my culture, because I think that experience made me realize that, like you said, like there's more life after death. And I think that's one thing I realized. And I catch myself being angry all the time. But then I realized that it's not me who's angry. It's our ancestors. I feel like the reason why I didn't die is because my great grandma, that she was protecting me through that time. And then I feel like I'm supposed to be here for a reason. So I've been, you know, taking care of myself so I can continue my journey.
Wow. And you know what? That's what you call your spiritual journey, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, in life, that individual that you described and however it came to you, he's always chasing us. You know, he's always at our right hand glance. You know, but and I think what he reminds us is that, because everybody goes through this, or if you're lucky enough to have a hard life and then you meet this moment in life where you're like, man, I shouldn't be here right now. I should have been dead, or a car crash, or whatever it is that I don't. And for you, it was your situation, but you always have this encounter with your humanity, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, wait, I love life. No, and then you're like, okay, but that individual right there, they always paint him out to be this scary, mean thing. And I'm not saying that that's what you did, brother. You did it.
Oh,
You
no.
just described him how you saw him. But that individual, that abuelo, really just opens a door for you, right? That's it. His job is to open a door for you. Show
I
you.
like how you said abuelo.
Yeah.
So I have an ofrenda, and I have my grandpa. I never met him, but my mom says that like I look like him.
Mm.
Um, so that maybe that could have been my grandpa. So that's kind of good thing you said that.
Well, I mean, know that inside your blood is where memory lives. A lot of people go, oh, it's my mind. It's not your mind, it's your blood. Your blood has been carried by a sacred being called the woman, and she gives a lot of blood when she gives birth. That blood is transferred into that baby, and it has memory. It's like a seed. When it hits sunlight, it's going to grow. And whatever sunlight that was for you, the vision you had about death, the vision you had of your grandmother, those are rays of the sun and reminding you of life and how precious it is, even if it's sometimes sad and difficult.
Oh,
Wow. So again, I want to thank you for tuning into our Wednesday discussions. This is exactly why we created this, to have dialogue like this, because everything that you're telling us through this segment, we're going to incorporate it into our future episodes and segments. It's just like the more feedback, the better. The better. The more stories, the better. Right, Zero?
Absolutely. And that story was amazing, bro, because I mean, it was probably the hardest challenge you had to face, is going through that hard road and learning from it, and now inspired by life and wanting to implement good things in your life. So I wish you well, brother. Thank you so much for coming on with us, and I thank you for sharing your poetry. It was
thank you.
beautiful. It was beautiful. Yawi.
Wow. You know what? That was a powerful story. because everyone has their own custom spiritual journey, right? But it's like it's vivid for people sometimes, you know.
I mean, dude, that was a powerful. I didn't expect that story. I didn't expect him saying that I hurt myself and I went into this.
And then I like the fact on how he described on how he stumbled upon your music, on how he just like stumbled upon it, and he instantly felt that void that had to be filled. Where it's like, it's in me, right? But no one around my family or friends are into what I kind of low key am into. So he allowed your music to be that voice.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it just resonated with him because I felt that. The reason we write music is because we're feeling a certain way and we want to share that feeling with others. So the high frequency that vibration creates with poetry or whatever, it starts to resonate not only through your skin, but through your blood, you know, and your blood, that's how you get chills. You know, when you get chills, that's a reaction from your blood, not your mind. You know, your mind has something to do with it, but it's not the source of it. I truly believe that the blood can be encoded. And our ancestors, and if you do the research, you'll realize what they're doing. They encode the blood with ceremonial trauma, because trauma is remembered, you know, but it's not remembered in the mind. It's remembered in your blood cells, how fast your blood cells were vibrating, and then rush to your brain to get translated into sight. That's what I believe.
Wow. Such an amazing conversation right there. Again, this is our Wednesday discussions. We're always looking forward to the Sunday shows. By the way, this Sunday, we have a very special guest that goes by
David Strickland.
David Strickland.
There you go.
We got Jesus on the 14th. We got Snotty Nose Red Kids on the 21st. And then MC Red Cloud
Oh, man.
on the 28th. That one is going to be a special show right there.
I'm going to tell you why. Because Red Cloud, one, he's a superstar. And I've known Red Cloud for over 20 years. Like, straight up, Red Cloud is a superstar. And I can't wait to
He has a
interview him.
style, though, right? Like, when I listen to his hip hop, man, his style is super, super original.
I mean, that brother can really focus in on what he's writing, you know, and he's just a master at what he does. I'm not even joking him, dude. He's just really good at what he does. I've had artistic conversations with Red Cloud, and he's taught me things in those conversations and approaches and things, and he's just achieved so much. So it'd be cool. I can't wait till you know, David comes through on Sunday. And
Well, look, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even low key. I knew Red Cloud. I knew El Mascaras. It was you who helped me put the two together.
oh no, we might not want to say that, but I guess. I mean,
He's my brother though, because he's a true supporter.
absolutely.
He dropped a dope mic session for us, and we're definitely planning on getting that Red Cloud mic session too.
I mean, he's.
Nah, but that's,
You'll see how
that's
much of a
amazing,
superstar.
bro. I've honestly, it's rare when I meet an artist that has two branded personalities like that.
That's why I'm saying the things I'm saying about him, because he's a genius. This guy's a genius. And it's not, he's more popular in another country, in 3 countries. He's popular in 3 countries: Canada, US, and now Mexico. And Mexico's market loves him for his, you know, his, what he does. So shout out to the brother. I mean, he's a genius, and you're gonna learn a lot, LA Natives community, when Red Cloud comes and shares his story with us.
Bro, if you're watching this, Red Cloud, ill, I swear to God, dude, it was Zero who kind of helped me put the two together, man.
Sorry. I mean,
He did perform at the El Vuh show, right?
we performed with Red Cloud for years. Yeah, he's with at the Lexington?
Yeah.
Yes, he did with Weddle. Yeah,
Yes.
that's right, he did. Oh man, mad love. I remember that. Oh, dude, thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
And I think he performed at the Eftos Uno show too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely super talented. I can't wait to have him on. I just reached out to him like, yo, bro, like, are you down to get on? He's just
What'd he say?
Instantly, he was just like, yes.
Totally. He's like, man, that dude shows so much love, dude. And you know, as popular as he is, he's really humble. He has a good, humble heart. And man.
And Frank, yes,
we
are working on trying to get Superman in here. That's definitely something that I want to do for sure, Frank. And I appreciate you actually
hit us with Lois Lane's number, and maybe we could send a message to his girl,
Yes.
Lois Lane.
Yes.
Yeah, Superman. Please come on, LA natives. We can discuss a lot of things.
Anyone in the chat or watching that wants to chime in, again, just send us your email and you could just join right in, have a great little discussion. I definitely got something special in the works for our Wednesday shows. We got some guests, very exciting surprise guests coming up in the next few weeks. And I just want to hear feedback from our audience about our podcast shows. You know, I think we're at 11 so far. And man, like every single one of these shows are breathtaking to me. Very memorable. A lot of stuff that you could get out of it, you know, when you watch LA Natives. And
now's the time, like right now, today, the Wednesday show is a time where you just talk about current events, where you talk about something that you feel like isn't fair. And it's not all about just, you know, what we try to make it seem is like trying to save the world here, because that's not the goal either. We're just trying to expose you to good music, an alternative way of thinking, and implementing good things into your life, you know. And now's the time where you come in with that, you know, what do you think about something that current event wise happened? And, you know, we get to discuss that. What do you think? What happened in the news this week?
published an article about the International Indigenous Music Awards first annual. Let me pull out that article for you, Zero. Go ahead and go over it with you.
The International Indigenous Music Awards. And we're going to have the founder
guys,
on, right?
Yes. We're I believe his name is Casp.
Casp.
Shout
out to Casp.
I do run a website called Underground Hip Hop Blog. And here's the article here. It's the first annual International Indigenous Hip Hop Awards show. And for damn sure, by next year, we're going to have Zero be a part of that nomination so we could win an award, right, Zero?
Absolutely. We got to come out with some good stuff. I mean, I have a track that
And much respect for all the artists that have been nominated so far. You know, I'm sure they all bring something to the table.
Absolutely. Artsin's involved with this, right?
Yes.
Artsin, Dreezus?
I believe so.
Dreezus are the Snotty Nose Red Kid.
I believe so. And David Strickland. I believe he got nominated for Best Single.
I just named like the top native artists in the media, you know, that are doing things, right? Like Snotty Nose, you know, they're all there. Look, there is Mike Bone.
No, look, Mike Bone. They're hosting the show.
Oh shit! Right on. Mike Bone.
Check this out.
Mike Bone.
Two days of energy and fun. The Indigenous Hip Hop Awards show is going virtual with tons of booths, speakers, and workshops and live performances every 20 minutes. So
Every
book a
20
booth today
minutes.
for the Indigenous Hip Hop Awards show, May 23rd, 2021. This virtual event is a great way to showcase your music or organization. So join us at indigenoushiphopawards.com. Or for more information, call 204-228-006. Be a part of the culture.
Wow. You know,
Okay.
that right there, I've never seen anything like that before.
Well, it's you know, it's grassroots organizing. You know, these individuals are trusting in the community to come through, and you know, the fact that they have you involved, Armando, is a big plus because you know we hold down Los Angeles like that. So, especially in the native music or native hip hop because El Vuh's been here forever and you've been in the scene forever, right?
Right.
Necro.
And there's the MTV Music Awards, there's the BET Music Awards. Maybe we need to be the ones to release the Underground Hip Hop Music Awards, but for them to get the get the resources, think of the idea, make the idea a reality, and then to represent the indigenous hip hop side of genre of hip hop, it had to be done. It's just, I think the time is now,
There's just a lot of artists now that have a stream, like
that
people
wave that flag of indigenous hip hop.
Well, yeah, dude, if you live in Oklahoma and you have a home studio and you have to press a CD and then take that CD across the country and try to sell it, that's going to be a difficult thing. But now in 2021, you have social media. You just need a little room, you need a phone, and there you go. You can upload videos to and get your point across the country if you wanted to. So this big ups to the organizers of that award show. But let's hope that the awards are given to people who really deserve it and who really, because, when you talk about MTV Music Awards, those awards aren't coming because they're just all corporate bullshit. So I hope it's, done in that way. Of course it is, it's not, I don't see Nike on there, so it's not going to be too crazy, but let's support them as a community and know that, everything that we can offer as LA natives, we're here for you, brothers.
Shout out to Rez Official.
Shout out.
We see you. He just said he just stumbled upon the podcast through Dreezes' Instagram, which we're gonna have on in a couple weeks. Shout out to Dreezes. He's
Shout out to Dreezes.
Dope artist.
Shout out.
He listened to the arts and episode while cooking supper.
Nice.
He loves the way that we tie the art to our traditions, which is dope. Shout out. Much love.
I think that's the way you influence youth. You make it that it's not popular or cool, but this is who you are, and who you are, you need to wear every day. Every day you get up, you need to be who you need to be. And if that is an LA native, then that's what it is,
Yes. But yeah, this is our Wednesday show, Wednesday discussions. We're definitely going to have some great segments coming up, some surprise guests. We got Joaquin Thunderbird chilling with us for a second consecutive week. Let's go ahead and bring him in.
Oh, shoot. He's coming in. Yeah. A whole relative.
Yo. Joaquin, can you hear us?
Oh, dang. The phone fell, Joaquin. Oh, you got the feather going and everything. LA natives.
We got Joaquin Thunderbird in the chat right here. Do you hear us? I don't think he hears us.
I don't know why. Is it on our end?
No, I think everything should be fine.
Hey, Joaquin, can you hear the chat? Can you hear us on the computer? We can't. You have no sound. You're probably muted on your computer. You might want to take the mute off the computer.
Let me see.
Dang, I can't hear you guys.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now I could hear you. I can hear you now. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Yo.
I need bonjour.
Yo. Test,
Joaquin.
test. 1, 2.
Do you hear us? Oh man.
Let's try it again. Tom.
You know what? We don't know what's going on. Might have some technical difficulties, but I know we could hear him, right?
Yeah, I heard his voice, so I don't think he can hear us though, because we've been like, Joaquin.
Yo, Joaquin. We can hear you, brother.
Joaquin.
Yeah, maybe something's wrong with his internet.
Mm-hmm.
And we will try to bring him back shortly, if that. But yeah, guys, this is just a second segment that we're doing, highlighting the LA Natives podcast. We got a lot of things cooking. Let me try to get him on board one more time. See if this is gonna work.
Joaquin.
Yo.
Hermano.
Maybe you might have to take off your earphones, if anything. Try to send him. Send him a private chat. Hopefully.
Oh, there. He heard you. Or he read it.
Yo. Can you hear us now?
Joaquin.
Yo.
Yo. I don't think it's working. Okay.
Yeah, you know what? Unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna work.
That's okay. We roll with the bumps and bruises of it all. You know? We're not perfect.
Now look, just like how we had first guy on and Joaquin on, if there's anyone out there that wants to join our chat, just simply leave the email in the chat and we'll send you the invite link.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was the International Indigenous Hip Hop Awards. From what I know, we're gonna have a digital booth, Zero. That's gonna be simply amazing. I can't wait for this show to happen.
Yo, we just hit 100 on Twitch. We're official 100, like 100.
Oh wow!
Yeah, dude.
You know what?
I just checked that right now.
Wow, that is amazing. You know
we just
what?
hit 100.
I just want to pause the music real quick and give us something that we need right here. Hold on. Right here, Zero.
Okay. Nice. Okay. You know, I checked that. It was like 100. I was like, wow, that's cool.
That
man.
is amazing. We got 100 subscribers on Twitch. That is like a super accomplishment for us. That's simply amazing.
And that's all due to you, community. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for showing love like that. I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes we run into technical difficulties and we run through a little spot.
I'm trying to have someone else other than Joaquin to join us just to see if we're having technical difficulties, because I have a feeling there's something wrong on his end. Because everyone could hear us fine, right? Give us some feedback. There's 76 people tuning in. Can you guys hear us?
Yes. Check 1 2. Give us a quick reply, yes or no.
And Joaquin, just try to log out and then join right back in. Hopefully that kind of like resets your guys' your audio. Because I know last week you sounded great.
Right.
There it is, Frank. See? Frank could hear us.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you for sticking with us the whole time. I think he's been on the whole time, right?
Khalifa Aslan can hear us. Brandon can hear us.
All right.
All right. Here's Joaquin one more time.
Joaquin, let's try it one more time. Here we go.
Hey, bonjour.
Oh, can you hear us?
You guys can see me good? Hear me good?
Yo.
Yes, sir. I can hear you now.
Can you hear us?
All right. Glitch.
You can hear us.
What's going
You can hear
on,
us.
cousins?
Sweet.
Yeah, you know what? It might be your internet, Joaquin, but thank you for joining again, man.
No problem, cousins. My connection is good. I think I had to do because I plugged in the headphones after I had already opened up the app or whatever.
Sweet.
Oh wow.
But yeah,
So
right
how you
on.
been, brother? How you been, relative?
You know, I could be better, could be worse. You know, just keep my spirit intact in these times, like usual, and trying to keep busy and creative.
Joaquin, has there been some like spiritual journey that you went through? You know, walking the red road and just like, you know, how Khalifa Aslan explained, like I would love to hear a quick little story of maybe one of your spiritual journeys.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a long road. So I grew up like a lot of us, disconnected from my culture. I'm what you call a quote unquote northern native.
No.
But so I grew up on the streets, thugging it out, doing all kinds of negative things. Didn't know any better, but kind of knew better that I was supposed to come and do something different. To make a long story short, when I had my first daughter, when I was 24 years old, that's what straightened me out. And I cut my ties to the streets and I headed up into the mountains and moved away from the cities in Northern California. I moved away from the Bay Area up to a place called Mendocino, California, Mendocino County. I'm currently in Humboldt County, but I'm still in the same general vicinity. It's a place they call the Emerald Triangle, which is also kind of like the Bermuda Triangle for natives.
The Bermuda. Why? Explain why. Explain why.
Well, Humboldt. Well, like for example, in California, Humboldt County has the most natives, population-wise, but it also has the most missing natives. Not only in California, but is a leader in murdered missing indigenous people. Humboldt County is one of these old Wild West counties where so that's why I mentioned the Emerald Triangle. So this is a cannabis growing region. And so that's part of it. It has a lot to do with just non-native society in general, and how it is everywhere for all of us. But also in this county, it's more rural. We're out in the middle of nowhere. And also native people work in the cannabis industry, whether they're trimming or they're growing. And so people disappear up here. And so not everyone who disappears up here is due to cannabis. But that's a part of it. And so that's something I like to talk and educate about. I'm part of creating a group here called Murdered Missing Indigenous People in Humboldt County. Then we have a program called Murdered Missing Indigenous Prevention. And that's something I wanted to kind of talk about and ask you about, Zero and Mondo. Your thoughts on that too. But what I want to say about it is, like I said in the comments, so murdered missing Indigenous people, I say that, and I know a lot of people say murdered missing Indigenous women, and that's important.
Yeah.
But I also, like here, for example, in Humboldt County, we have more missing men that disappear and get murdered. And it's like that in a lot of different Indian communities. It's not always, so it's not to take away from the women, but as we're a people, no matter what nation we come from. So I like to call it murdered missing Indigenous people versus women or boys, or just as a full circle. So within the murdered missing Indigenous people, so MMIP is the problem. The solution is murdered missing Indigenous prevention. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
And real briefly, I'll explain what it means to me, but I want to hear what you think that means too, brothers. And so to us up here, and I work closely with a brother from the Hoopa Res, right up here in Humboldt County. And so, long story short, but what I think murdered missing Indigenous prevention is, it's everything that we as Native people do to get back on our road, to health and well-briety, being strong. So it could be our culture, it could be it could be our art, it could be anything we do to reestablish our identity. Because as contrary to popular belief, in the North, quote unquote, not to separate us, but just to use lack of a better description, res natives, we have a lot of identity issues too. Depending on what community you come from, you're going to have more or less. Some of our communities we speak fluently our language still and know our ceremonies and our stories and our origin. Some communities we don't. And so you also have in our communities that do have more, they have people, most of us res natives actually live in the cities. So we have a lot of people that are disconnected. So once again, I think murdered missing Indigenous prevention is anything we do positive in our community work, or within ourselves and as a circle, as families, as a community. So I think that LA Natives is murdered missing Indigenous prevention work. I think Zero, as a poet, as a hip hop artist, what I like to call hip hop in poetry, is murdered missing Indigenous prevention work. Molly Nolly Superfoods is murdered missing Indigenous prevention.
Absolutely.
What we eat is very important, as you relatives know, what we put into us. And so I'm an advocate for all those things. And so I just wanted to add that in there, and for the audience in the LA Natives community, that murder, missing, indigenous prevention, yeah, is everything we do, especially native hip hop, which is like we talk about on here all the time, is has its own lane, it's its own genre, it's its own tree.
Yes, I think so.
Wow, that's powerful, Zero.
Yeah, I mean, this brother's deep. And that's what I love about LA Natives community, because people think that's like one person or just maybe because I'm the host or any of that. There's knowledge everywhere. And I really appreciate your knowledge, brother, because you come with a profound perspective. You know, I think, you know, my perspective on, well, can you say the acronym again? It's murdered indigenous people, right?
You know, so murdered, missing, indigenous people.
There it is. Murdered, missing, indigenous people.
Yeah.
That's nothing new. That has been happening for a long time. And the reason why it's happening a lot is because we don't have training on how to deal with city life, res life, drug life, ceremonial life. We have we have adults that do their best they can, but if they're rooted in colonial answers, then it just leads you to that dead end, right? So murdered, missing indigenous people is the norm. But when you have a group and when you have individuals, community members like Brother Joaquin, who are doing the work to prevent or train the youth on how to at least deal with society's pressures, and not in a way that they have a boot on your neck, but more in the way of be a skillful warrior as you walk through this desert, as you walk through this forest, as you walk through this city. You have ultimate awareness at all times, but we haven't been trained that. And that's why it happens. The training is rooting yourself to anything that is pulling you away from a colonial influence. And that's what the brother's talking about in his.
And Joaquin, I really love how you tie in LA Natives to all of those issues. That means a lot to us, right, Zero?
Absolutely.
Well, man, like, you know, like I said on the last time I called in, you know, so when I get on my quote unquote red road back in early 2000s and I leave the streets, you know, and then I end up at this the Ganawida Quetzalcoatl University in Davis, California, and there's a student occupation that was a major inspiration to me at the time, because see, I came from, you know, gangster rap and making negative music, and so then when I cleaned myself up, I thought, well, okay, I'm no longer an artist anymore. That was part of that old life. But then people kept telling me, well, why can't you just make positive music? Why can't you just transform it, your art and your poetry, into something positive now with the knowledge you're gaining? And I kept thinking, yeah, you know what, they're right. And so right around that time, I'm listening to different people, and I get introduced to El Vuh. I get introduced to Omeka, Siwat Set, Sampali 20, Bugga Malone, Aslan Underground, Ross Kadi, Audio Pharmacy. And so all these pauses, and I'm like, wow, man. So I can, you know, maybe I can still be an artist and give that offering to the people. And so I started to do that. And so once again, Zero and Victor and E-Rise were a major inspiration to me. And the circle I was in at the tribal college, because like I said before, the tribal college is the home of the eagle and the condor. That's kind of like the purpose of the college there was the eagle and the condor. And so I know, once again, you know, people from Mexico in Central America are also eagle people, and the condor people are in South America. But the college itself was created based upon Chicano and Northern natives who jumped that old military fence and then occupied the place and went to courts and got to college eventually through the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. I might have the year wrong. So, but yeah, man. So it's so I think that you know, all native hip hop, and then we look around Turtle Island. We look around everywhere, and there's positive native hip hop everywhere. It's still not as big as I would like it to be, there's still a lot of I will call people chasing the corporations and that kind of music and all the negativity. There's probably more of that. But I think that, it's like that old saying is, and I've heard you say this before too, Zero, is that like, one warrior is like worth like, 100 soldiers.
Absolutely.
We're as strong as 100 soldiers.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, that's what I think about that. And thank you for your explanation too about murder missing Indigenous people too. I appreciate that because it's something that we're trying to make a movement, and it's going slow because you have all these murder missing Indigenous women movements, which are really beautiful and really needed, and they're led by the women. And so I just want to say, don't forget about the men, because I have a brother, my brother up here that I work with murder missing Indigenous people, Humboldt, and his brother was murdered by the CHP a couple years ago, and he was shot down by them. And well, he's a brother, so him and his family, when they see all the murder missing Indigenous women thing, they feel bad in a way. I've seen the looks on their faces when they see it all the time. It's not because they're against it. It's like, well, what about my son who was murdered by the police? Or what about my nephew who is still missing in the mountains somewhere? And so I just want to remind about that. And it's not to disrespect the women ever.
Absolutely not. I
come from a people, I'm Anishinaabe and Mohawk, so we're matrilineal people. The women are the leaders.
Well, I mean, I think that when you have a perspective that puts women in their place, but just like any other corporate venture or corporate investment, and there's flyers and websites made, somebody funded that, and that funding wants the outcome that they want. So that's how people get all confused and offended by certain things. This is not what Brother here is saying. Brother here is saying is like, we're going to address it, not only murdered Indigenous women, but murdered Indigenous people. And that's too much for I think white society to handle, that we're still killing Indians. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, think about it. Like, I know where he comes from is predominantly predominantly white, but I mean, there are individuals there, and there's a lot of corruption, a lot of things that happen within, all facets of life. But I think the best approach to murdered Indigenous people is to train your loved ones around you to be aware, to not take it personal, and find solutions that bring improvement to your life, because the improvement is one step away from being that missing Indigenous person.
Oh, brother, that's what our message is about too, is independence. Yeah. Is that like we get no federal funding, we get no state funding, we get no NGO funding. It's all grassroots. And so we know that when we take that money from them, it's an energy transfer. And people can do what they like to do. And we're not saying that they're bad for taking funding, but our circle in general wants to remain independent and to take responsibility. That we know that they're going to, that there's nothing new. We know it's no surprise to us what's going on. We're not appalled like, wow, this is happening. We know what's been happening. And that's how we ended up disconnected in the first place. So I think it's very imperative and important to be independent as we, so like a lot of people don't know too, there's that murdered missing Indigenous women was created in Canada, and it was also funded and by the Canadian government as like a project. And so that was kind of like their idea that they pushed forward, and of course of course the governments and the media are really into separating and making things about this or that. And so
I just don't see how people today in 2021 look at any media source as factual information.
I know, right?
It boggles my mind to see.
Me too, cousin.
Like
corporate media
put faith in lies. Like, lies are what make you safe. Like, let me lie to you so you could feel safe. And
I don't even think they're lying to us. I just think they just honestly feel that everyone is extremely dumb. It's beyond lying now. You know what I'm saying?
But that's the epitome of lies, right? Is that my wit is so far advanced to yours that I'm going to pull one over on you by just telling you certain things. And that's lying.
Right.
And that's such an opposite way of thinking from our ancestors. Because where we come from, honor and truth is what makes you a great man. But now we look in 2021 and being a hustler makes you a great man.
Well, there is a big wave
Being a pimp.
But there is a big wave of alternative media out there. A lot of people watch YouTube videos. A lot of people follow certain influencers with certain narratives. People are tuning into LA natives to maybe fulfill a question that they have that they can't really necessarily get from the mainstream outlets. Because when you're watching CNN, bro, you might as well, take an IV bag that has CNN labeled right on it, dude.
Yeah, it's just that everything gets put out in certain time frames, right? The technology of TV got put out and organized by certain elites. That doesn't it doesn't. People with a lot of money just fund things, right? So they have their hands in everything. They're almost like ahead of the curve because they're funding the lab that's inventing internet or inventing wireless or inventing whatever. And so when you study history, more than 50 years, more than 100 years, more than 200 years, more than 500 years, when you study the bloodlines and the lineages of these individuals, you'll realize that kings and queens turned into CEOs, right? They just changed their name and ran the same game of monopoly money to the community. It's just a manipulation of words. They're still the same people. They rule in the same way.
And at the same time, I hate when people kind of get caught up in that hype or a distraction, because as an artist and as an influencer myself, right, Zero, like, we can't let politics or that mainstream propaganda get in our way. They're not paying our bills, or, when you get really jump into that rabbit hole and you start wasting a lot of time on it, when in essence doesn't really change your way of life,
right?
I think you should just move on.
I think you should spend time with things that actually because see, what the media does is that it makes you wait for things.
They sell you ads,
right? But it makes you wait, though.
Isn't that the whole thing behind media, right? It's to sell you an advertisement.
Absolutely. That's the main thing. If not, they would not have them. If this was such an emergency, if this was such a thing that's cut off everything, man, we need to fucking concentrate. Like, fuck Doritos. Fuck fucking Doritos and Sprite and Coca-Cola and Audi and fucking BMW.
We need to kill, we need to wipe out whatever is going on right now.
Yes, we need to cure the community. We need to.
Now look,
holistic doctors. Hey, doctors from over here. It's like,
while we're on this subject, I thought it was funny the other day when I heard on the radio that we're in a so-called pandemic, right? People are dying left and right. People need the vaccines, but the day it rains, all the vaccination centers that were outdoors, they closed because apparently their excuse was it was a rainy day. Well, wait a minute. I thought we're in a pandemic.
Right.
I would think, who gives a fuck about rainy days? We need to get people vaccinated, right?
Let me give you an example.
Does that make sense?
I'm going to give you an example of what it is. Look, in World War II, there was a time where the government seized businesses and they said, you're not making what you're going to make what this makes. And then the people rallied around that because we were trying to defeat evil. Everybody in the country agreed to it, worked hard for it, and we defeated evil. But in the pandemic or in this thing, it's conveniently turned up, turned down, turn up, turn down. And it's no longer about helping people survive it, but more about controlling yourself. Control, right?
Right, because I don't know. This is how I feel, Zero. If it was a pandemic, if I was running the country, everything shutting down.
Everything.
Till for a month.
For a month. Everybody. And not in a authoritarian way.
But some countries did that. But they, like you said, it wasn't authoritarian. It was more humanitarian.
It has to come from a humanitarian approach because you're trying to save lives. You can't come from a humanitarian approach and install dictatorship like rules, mandatory. I mean, are these idiots the only persons that can logically find an answer? Or is it a way of life that you eat bad food and look,
as soon as the pandemic started, the lines at Jack in the Box and McDonald's tripled, bro, every time I drove by these things.
Because they were the only ones that are open, right? It's like, let's shut everything down except the shit that gets you sick. Look, I'm not trying to be insensitive because I know a lot of people lost a lot of people to this nonsense, and we have to realize that has to be addressed. But to give up my civil liberties, to give up the liberty of breathing air naturally and letting me ride on my own decision somehow is wrong or offensive. You guys got to study history and know that this sounds very familiar. If you don't challenge it, if you don't step up and challenge it, well then, not only you, but your future. They're not lining up to help you. They're lining up so that you can obey.
Check out what Brandon said right here. He said, gyms are closed, but fast food is open.
Man, and that's the whole hypocrisy of it all, right? Fucking whatever your name is, Wolf Blitzer from CNN, right? Right? Here, let me give you this really white approach of this of nonsense, and let me get you really scared. Oh, by the way, go get a burger. Nah, not go try to find some bee pollen. How about that? How about bee pollen? There you go, community. Go find bee pollen and eat it every day.
So we got Joaquin back. He's going to share a poem with us. Does your audio work now, Joaquin? Yo. Yeah, I don't think it's working.
Yeah. Maybe next time, my brother.
Save that poem for next week.
Is there anybody else? Brandon, is there anybody else that wanted to come on side by side?
You know what? I think Brando wanted to come on. He's chiming away, but our time is pretty limited. This time flies, Zero. Right?
It's already over?
It's already 8. We got like another 10, 15 minutes.
Okay. No, I'm not saying that to complaining. I'm just like,
flies,
fuck, just right? Like, boom.
Yeah.
Done.
But Brandon had a huge point. Like, gyms close, but fast food is open. It's just the hypocrisy there, bro. It's just.
I'm just saying.
But do you feel me, Zero? Like, if I was running the country, just close everything down.
Right.
Stay home. Let the virus chill.
Or at least open up the door where you're having this private meeting about what's going to happen in society, right? Like, let every smart motherfucker in that room, every single one, even if you disagree with them. Am I right?
The only one that was allowed in that room was Dr. Fauci.
Right. Oh, how weird. That motherfucking brainy and the pinky in the brain. That motherfucker. He's pinky. He's like Mr. Brainiac. Like, he contradicts himself so much. It's laughable. It's laughable that people think that this individual has any. He dismisses things without addressing them with his narcissism of, I'm Dr. Fauci and you got to just listen to me. When he went on national media about masks and said, it's so silly. You're silly wearing a mask. You maybe stop one droplet, one tiny microscopic droplet you'll probably prevent.
Well, it's a psyche thing too. There's so much fear out there that you're going to get sick. I just think it's to the point now, if you see someone without wearing a mask, there's like a big spotlight on that individual. because if you could smell food through a mask, you could get the virus. That's my opinion. That's how I see it, Zero.
It's.
But Fauci's
Think
the one
about this.
saying,
Let me.
Now Fauci's saying triple mask. It's not double mask anymore. It's triple mask.
So now
To the point where you could turn blue. Might as well, right?
Jesus Christ. They like suffocate yourself. I don't want to waste the time. I don't want to waste a bullet. I don't want to waste anything. I just want you to just suffocate yourself. Wait till it's 10 masks. 10 masks. And even if you can't breathe, you got to keep going, bro, because this is what's going to stop the virus.
And yes, obesity does tie into, the lack of, of your immune system.
Look up pre-existing conditions and COVID. Boom. You'll see it all right there. And then to Armando, you got to understand how this system works. It works by creating a problem and then having the solution, right? And the brilliant solution is wait for this miracle, whatever, and let's see if it works. It's like 1 minute they're telling you anecdotal data doesn't mean anything, and then they're going, but our data does. But your data isn't anecdotal. Your data actually is missing because you only did this in a year when it takes years and years and years to develop a mediocre effective. You know what keeps your health in prime condition is control over appetite, intake of water, intake of mineral, exercise, sunlight, meditation, connection, enjoying life. That will beat any pandemic. Research minerals. Minerals enter your body and nourish your organs. Your organs are the principal points of the body that help the body exist. Start there. Don't just wait in line, eating your Taco Bell, waiting to get somebody else's scientific blunder a shot. That's my opinion.
Well, just like how Khalifa Hassan said right now, he's listening to our conversation. He says, hey, they don't tell you this on the news. They don't. They will refuse to say any of this that we're talking about on the mainstream media.
Because
it doesn't sell them a medication. It doesn't sell them, a corporation. What do mainstream media news outlets sell? I think 90% of it is fucking medication, right? If I'm not mistaken. I can't really think of anything else I've seen. Like last time I saw Fox News, as soon as they were off, it was like straight up take this pill.
I don't know when pills became stronger than actual plants. Plants that took millions and millions of years to evolve into medicinal things. Yet this wonder pill just trumps the thousands of years of evolution.
And best believe you better have health insurance.
Oh my God. And then how much it cost. And, let's bring it back to a perspective. If you really, really, really have a loved one who's sick and has passed or any of that, please don't take our comments as we don't care about you, because we do. We care about your kid. We care about your kids' kids. And sometimes when you get the cage rattled, a lot of other things happen through the back door, right? And then all of a sudden, you're locked in the cage and you're going, but I thought everyone was doing it, right? And you didn't question one thing. You have to question everything. You have to look at the report and go, let me do my research. Okay, he's going to give me the answer and I'm going to listen and and January 1st, I'm going to be saved because they're going to give it. No, question that. Why? It doesn't make sense how Dr. Fauci has the answers for a globe. He's one person.
And you know what even convinced me more that this was all a sham? What recently happened with these hedge funds getting fucked over when random investors, small people like us, decided to bet against their odds, right? So it coincides with what's going on in the stock market too, you know? So apparently what happened was there was a Reddit discussion group with millions of people, you know, going long, you know, basically, you know how hedge funds work. They bet against that stock. So they profit if they predict it's going to go down or up. Right. So with GameStop being a brick and mortar and a company that's completely going downhill, hedge funds, you know, they're notorious on betting against it because they know it's going downhill, which ruins these companies.
Right.
That creates bankruptcy for them. But little did these hedge funds know and stock market know that now, due to social media, there's enough people that could artificially create a demand for that stock just by buying and holding. So millions of people decided to say, you know what, screw the system, screw the stock market. What we're going to do is overvaluate GameStop. So the more it raised in value, more billions and billions were lost by these hedge funds. So what did they do? They froze the market. Complete hypocrisy, because I thought it was a free market.
Right.
So they can't allow the small people to win. But for them, they could not only win at all times, but freeze the system.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Look, if we compare it to medieval times, there were the kings and the serfs. The serfs got taxed 26% of whatever they did, and they went berserk. That was such a wrong move by that king to do that to those serfs that it almost overthrew. He almost lost his whole kingdom by overtaxing the community. Here's my point. When you're a liar, when your fucking first step here on this land was a lie, and you just started spewing lies and lies and lies, and we heard lies and lies for 500 years, you don't think those lies are gonna come back to bite you in your ass? When you freeze the market, you're saying, I hold all the chips. Serfs, I hold all the chips. And you're gonna like it. And we do.
And what did they stop? Power in numbers. You know that phrase? They basically just stopped it because they saw how power is in numbers when it comes to 1 day situations, 2 day situations. This group did it in 1 or 2 days. Can you imagine if they take that same strategy to real life situations? Power is in numbers.
Absolutely.
I think they're getting scared because we found a hole in their bullshit and we attacked. Because I'm a low scale investor as well. So when I saw this, I was blown away because how do hedge funds even make money? They don't sell anything or create anything or produce anything. They have billion-dollar corporations and firms betting against companies that are either going to go down or up. That's vicious. That's notorious. They take billions of dollars from the average Joe.
Right. Well, that's the average Joe's fault for believing in a market that was built on lies.
Yes.
Financial systems are built on lies. Everybody knows that Zeitgeist. Have you ever seen that movie Zeitgeist?
Yes.
Okay, well, in Zeitgeist, they explained how money is worked, right? Like, so if you have $1,000, you deposit $1,000 into a bank, then that bank lends $1,000, but it's a made up number. Like, they didn't actually have $1,000. They just said, oh, now we have your $1,000 made us $2,000. And now I could take this extra $1,000 and give it to this person. That's a lie, dude. You cannot run a system of lies for 500 years. Eventually, people are going to get smart enough, like numbers. What was it? Numbers and
Like the average Joe, retail investor.
yeah.
It was a Reddit group chat
Yeah.
that joined together and got a fairly damaged stock and took it to the moon artificially. That just made two things clear to me: that it's an artificially created market, because it's not even about the values of these companies itself. It's all about hype and how many people even invest into one name or stock.
But
then B, when they froze and they penalized the average Joe, like you said, the chips are always on their side.
Absolutely. And when that tells you,
and you know who actually even allowed them to freeze the stock market like that? Government, the White House. Can you imagine that?
Okay, okay, so we're gonna go deep conspiracy right here.
Because when people lose billions and billions, and from what I heard, they lost over $50 billion. That's not a little bit of money there. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, and they're gonna be pissed. But you can't run a system to perfection on another man's talent. They think just because they have money, these let's take it back a couple hundred years. If you were a king, you go, all I need to do is fund this person. And then that turned into a CEO. And now you're just this Mark Zuckerberg who has direct lineage to kings of England, right? So that means his money's long, right? They say that in rap, his money's long because he's had money forever. He's never not had money. And now all of a sudden he's a CEO of Facebook. Like he's this genius. He just had money to fund it and had the greed to sell everybody else who used it out. That's not new to this system. This system is not new. This system has been regurgitated over and over and over again since Roman times. And we're all like in this daze, but no, we're not in this daze. And that's when you see results like this in the stock market, when you go, holy shit, what? They're smart? Yes, arrogant elite. People have brains and know how to read and can join together, and all they could do is cut it off. Well, let's not play.
And the whole model behind how hedge funds sell their services is that they're smarter than you. They know more than you. Mm-hmm. They apparently they're smarter than everyone else. That's the whole model of these hedge funds that bet against the markets, and a lot of insider trading is involved, obviously, on that kind of scale and level where there's billions of dollars involved. Mm-hmm. But kudos to that Reddit group that sat there and took the fight and made them lose billions.
I think, there was a movement in China.
And this was in a matter of a week, Zero. Can you imagine? Just in a matter of a week, they crippled the stock market to where they had to freeze it so that everyday Joe couldn't gamble anymore, or couldn't, place bets anymore.
It's because when you start shifting into a certain agenda and that agenda doesn't fit, like the poor people's agenda doesn't match up with the elite agenda, then they pull shit like that, right? And a lot of people give a lot of credit to individuals who are in elite positions. Like the Amazon dude. What the fuck is his name? Soros? No, that's George Soros. What's the name of the Amazon dude? Anyways,
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos.
Which coincidentally just stepped down today as the CEO. He's no longer the CEO. He stepped down of the company.
Oh, something big's probably happening.
Yeah.
But these guys are not brilliant people. They have good ideas and they steal things and they have money. And then when they get more money, they just need to steal other people's money. There's no brilliance in that. You know what brilliance is? George Washington Carver. George Washington Carver was a slave who invented a machine that made picking cotton obsolete. He invented a solution for people on his plantation to stop picking cotton and didn't patent it. So that means that every other plantation said, oh shit, this machine's picking cotton 50 times faster than a human would, so let's keep using it. Let's proliferate it. Let's make it go to all the... And he stopped people from picking cotton by hand. That man saw his people suffering and created a solution and didn't capitalize on it.
They just took his idea and ran with it.
It's okay though. He said that. He's all. I know that's gonna happen, but that's okay because it'll be the end of people picking cotton by hand. He's a genius. He's a warrior. Everyone out there in LA natives, if you're on this, if you listen to this podcast, if you do the replay, you're trying to find solutions for your community around you. Don't give up. It's our time. Find holistic remedies. Follow ancient traditions. Don't be afraid. Look into a mirror and find that human that they're trying to turn into a robot. Use your spirit to see through the darkness. We all are strong warriors. We all are sent here to save the planet. We all are here to love and experience this life with all our heart. We'll see you Sunday.
We'll see you Sunday. This is
LA Natives.
LA Natives Wednesdays discussions exclusively on our Twitch. Make sure you guys subscribe. We're already at 100 followers. Help us out, get more. Subscribe to our YouTube.
Follow me on Instagram.
Zero on Instagram. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Check out his music. Search him on Spotify.
David
his music
Strickland.
videos.
We'll see you Sunday, David.
David Strickland this Sunday. Appreciate everyone tuning in. And man, much respect to everyone that chimed in. Joaquin, Califaslan, much love. We love you guys. Spread the word. We will see you guys Sunday.
Tlazocamatli.